Let's move on to text. It's a massive part of any design. And again, if you want to learn more, take a look at our typography course. But if I hit T on my keyboard or click on this and enter and click with the mouse somewhere in the canvas, I can start writing down a text. By default, it's most often going to be set to enter, regular weight. The size is going to be set to 12, and all of these other settings are going to be like this as well. So again, we have our positioning, we have the width and height, we have the rotation of the text, we have the layer with its blending modes and opacity in here and visibility. And these are the new settings. So text has its own area in Figma. You can change the font in here. At Supercharge, we love our Biennale font. We can change the font weight in here from anything that's available for that particular typeface. So if we go to something like our favorite font of all time, Comic Sans, you're going to see that it has just regular and bold, while our Biennale font had a lot more weights that were available. Usually all of the main ones are on top and all of the italic options appear in here. You also have some condensed versions or extended versions here depending on the typeface that you have selected, but this one is now Biennale and we're going to use black. You can increase the size just by clicking on this part of the interface and using the up and down arrows to change the value. Or if you want to switch it from like 20 to 40, it's really easy by just entering the number. You can also click on the drop down and it's going to offer you a lot of the predefined choices as well. In here, we have the line height, which is something that Figma is going to automatically calculate for you, but we do recommend switching it depending on some factors that you can learn when it comes to typography in our typography course. Overall, you can switch it to an actual number, or you can just set it to a percentage by entering the percentage in here. Same thing happens for the letter spacing. So for example, if I want to have something written down in all caps, like Figma, I can then use this to create a larger gap between the characters and use that to maybe make this a little bit more legible. Below that, we have paragraph spacing, which means that if we go back to some of the smaller sizes, which are a bit better for longer lines of text, let's just say this Figma course is awesome. I'm learning so much. Yay. As I clicked Shift Enter, this part of the text went into a new line, but it stayed in the same paragraph as Figma sees it. And when I hit an actual enter without a shift, it's actually going to create a new paragraph. So right now, if I enter a big number in here, you can see that these two lines are sticking together because they're the same paragraph, and this one is further down below because it's in a new paragraph. That's one way you can use it. You can also limit the width of the text. So by dragging this part, you can set the width of the area the text can appear in at just one value that you decide. So instead of me hitting Shift Enter in here, you can see that now this text goes for how much it can depending on the width of this element. And if I change it to something smaller, the line is gonna break at an earlier point and everything else is gonna fall down. And you can also change those settings in here. So if I press again to this, it's basically gonna put everything into one line unless I had enter somewhere, which I did have in here. If I use this, it's going to allow me, so you can see that now the width is disabled, but if I hit this option, it allows me to change the width to something that I want. And the final option allows you to actually change the width and height to something. So even if I drag it just from here, it's going to switch to that option, or if I hit on this option, it's going to allow me to have the height put at something as well. So you can see that now Figma considers this box the containing element for the text, even though some text is going outside of it, similarly to clipping and frames. So think of it as this is the text box. It allows text to go outside, but it's not clipping it. And if you want to control the clipping, you have these type settings in here which allow you to actually truncate the text at a particular point on the screen. Other options that we have in here is text alignment, so centered, right aligned, left aligned. If you're a beginner, please don't center everything. Usually a left line is even better than centering the text. There are some like tips and tricks, but just don't make the beginner mistakes of centering long lines of text. And you can also align from what point the text is going to appear. By default, it's best to have it like from top to bottom, but maybe you want to have it from middle, which would mean that in this text box, you can see that text appears in the middle of the text box, or you can have it from the bottom, which is going to take the starting point from the bottom. So in a text box like this, the text starts to appear from bottom and goes to top. So if you're working on some presentations and you want to have like all of the text lines appear from a particular point, you can use this. By default, I do recommend just keeping it at the regular top to bottom setting. When it comes to all of the additional settings, I'm just gonna write down a sentence like supercharge design. Well, not really sentence, 2 words, but to let you know what all of the other options do. You can have the resizing, which is everything that we had in here already. Alignment, which is something that we already have in here. Decoration, underlines, or accidentally clicked on my little recording avatar on the bottom right. I'll just drag this in here so it's easier to control without making that mistake. Strike through, underline, no decoration. Paragraph spacing, again something that we had in here. Paragraph indent, which is something that means that all of the new lines of text will appear like this, and you can see that all of the text is now kind of indented a little bit. Let's reset it to 0. You can also create lists either by just entering a little asterisk and then writing down something, or by choosing to turn on an option in here. You can switch it from a numbered list, bulleted list, or no list. And if you have some of these options turned on, a list spacing option is also going to appear, which is the spacing between each of the list elements. And you can also control the case by clicking here. Now, no text was selected, so sometimes if I already have text entered and I'm working on some of these settings, I do have to go inside the text box and Control A or Command A select all of the text for this option to actually apply. So you can see from nothing, the S is large, the D is large, uppercase everything is large, lowercase everything's kind of in lowercase, title case exactly how we wrote it, so no changes there. And this final option is for the small caps, which means that depending on your font, it might not be turned on, but it would be something like this, where upper charge would be all caps. And you can kind of fake it like this, but don't do it. And just doing this for the demo purposes, it would be something like this, where it's kind of uppercase, but at the height of lowercase letters or characters. If you switch from basics to details, you have some other additional options. Again, these really do depend on the typeface that you have selected. So case is something that we already controlled. Nothing too much to control in here, and you can kind of see how it's affected here in the preview. The style of the numbers. So if I write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and I switch it to this, it's going to change it from like all of them looking all like uppercase to something that feels more like a number in a sentence. You can change the position of the numbers to actually be superscript or subscript. You can create fractions easily like this if they're supported. So you can see in here the 1/3 is not supported, but maybe half would be, like this. So again, it really does depend on your font, on your typeface, and you always have a preview in here so you know what some of these settings do. This font tends to combine F and I and F and L into single character if they're together. You can control this and turn it on and off if needed. So something like Figma would look like this, and if I don't like this shape in here, I can remove the ligatures settings. Ordinals, I don't think we have in this font. Stylistic alternative is like a different variation of a character. So instead of this G, I'm gonna have a G like this, and I'm not sure if anything else changed. But yeah, you can play around with those stylistic sets through here. And again, some kerning pairs, you can turn them on and off if you want letters like L and T, which have a lot of space in between them, to look a little bit more closer. If both of them are together, you can turn on kerning pairs. So yeah, all of those things and settings are in here. Some of them are a little bit more advanced, so this video took a little bit longer, but that should be all that's connected to text. So all of the text settings, I think we went over. The only other thing that you can play around with is, again, fill, which is the color that the text is then going to have. You can also add strokes to the text and play around with it to create something interesting if you want to, and all of those things are in here.